All right, guys. Thank you for waiting patiently for the stream to start. We're doing another impromptu stream. Yes, this is going to be a very Xbox focused stream. We do have some PlayStation stuff we're talking about as well, but I will say I've been doing these streams more often here on the channel, and you guys seem to really enjoy them. That's what I've noticed. The viewership has been strong, the engagement has been even stronger. People enjoy it. I enjoy doing live streams. I still enjoy making video content, obviously, news videos and whatnot. But I was wondering what to do today, and I thought, hey, we'll do a stream. We'll talk about some of the conversation that's happening around Redfall. Uh, it's not sounding so good. We're gonna talk about Ghostwire Tokyo on Xbox and how apparently it's kind of a mess when it comes to performance, which is really bizarre to me. Um, and then we're also going to talk a little bit about what a developer has to say about the PlayStation 5 specifications versus the Xbox Series specifications. And as you can see here, and I want to say this at the beginning because this is something you're going to begin to hear me stress a lot more going forward. Okay. Um, I always ask you guys to consider donating super chats during the live streams, during the podcast. And you guys always do a great job, a phenomenal job supporting me through super chats. And I enjoy the super chats as well. So obviously, keep them coming if you're able to. I definitely enjoy that. I enjoy the conversation and discussion, but something I'm going to start to push a lot more here on the channel in a really significant way are channel memberships. Now, I do have some things I want to add to the memberships going forward. I haven't added them yet. Things are kind of in the works, but essentially, what I would like to try to achieve here is just a more tight knit community. And I think memberships are a great way to potentially achieve that. Something that I failed to talk about on my channel here pretty much at all, which is definitely a mistake on my part, is the fact that you can gift memberships. Okay. I feel the need to just make it clear to everybody that if you become a channel member, or I don't even know if you have to be a channel. I'm assuming you have to be a channel member to actually gift memberships, but either way, you can gift memberships. This is like a somewhat new feature that YouTube has rolled out, and it's just something that, for me personally, is kind of went a little bit under the radar. So, if you are able to, if you feel so inclined, consider becoming a channel member, and if you want to go the extra mile, consider gifting some channel memberships as well. But yeah, there are some things we got to talk about today. The main focus is going to be on Redfall. They're saying the stream is laggy. Anybody else having some issues with lag? Anybody having issues with the stream? On my end, it says it's in excellent condition. On my end, it says it's all good. Everybody's saying it's good. Okay. If you're experiencing lag, it might be on your end, because usually it tells me if there's anything wrong with the stream. It notifies me. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about Redfall. Now, here's the thing. Okay, when it comes to Sony PlayStation, for I'd say the past 3 months or so, for the past 3 months, they have not been doing the best job. Okay, Sony PlayStation has clearly been making some mistakes. I've been calling them out for those mistakes. We've talked about some of the things that Jim Ryan has said, some of the statements that Sony has made. We talked about Forspoken and the fact that Forspoken just was seemingly a flop, right? It straight up flopped. I don't think there's any way around that. Even Square Enix confirmed that it flopped. It didn't sell. It didn't sell anywhere near where it wanted to. Johnny Gaming, you're saying, LOL, what? Mistakes? Yes, that's right. I know it may sound crazy to some people, but PlayStation and Sony are prone to making mistakes at times, just like every other company, just like every other gaming company. Sony has been getting a lot of flack online. A lot of people really really going in hard when it comes to PlayStation, and I think most of it, not all of it, but I think most of it has been relatively justified. I mean, I've had my own opinions, obviously, but can't help but notice that a lot of people who have been going in the hardest on PlayStation are obviously those who are the biggest fans of Xbox, the biggest fans of Microsoft, the most vocal Microsoft fans. And, these are people who I think have, to a degree, been hyping up Redfall for quite some time. They're hyping up Starfield, which I think is understandable. Xbox went pretty much all of 2022 without a big game release. And rather than focusing on that, it seems like a large portion of the fan base would prefer to focus on the mistakes seemingly that Sony is making, at least some of the mistakes anyway. And so now Redfall's getting ready to release, and it's not looking good. It's not looking good. There is some new gameplay courtesy of IGN. And at first when I came across this, I didn't really focus on it too much because I'm just like, well, I mean, Redfall doesn't look that interesting to me in general. But then I started to kind of notice that people are really seemingly tearing Redfall up across the internet. People are seemingly not happy with this gameplay. There are a lot of complaints. There are a lot of people feeling like this game looks extremely underwhelming. And I just think it's kind of, it's a little bit ironic. Because again, I've seen a lot of people over the past couple months, but especially back in January, I mean, really just tearing Forspoken apart. A lot of like Xbox fans, a lot of people who you can tell like they wanted to see Forspoken fail and they just wanted to dogpile on it. And I get it. Like, I get it. If a game's not good, if it's looking bad, people are going to have their opinions. But it is ironic that within that, within the same time frame, roughly, like within the first 6 months of this year, Redfall comes out. And dude, I'm sorry, man, Redfall's not looking like it's going to review very well. There are some positive things being said about it, but the gameplay just looks pretty flat. It looks pretty stale. I think Redfall will succeed to a degree thanks to Game Pass. But let me I thought that we could do something a little bit different today, a little bit unexpected, but I think it will actually be interesting because I haven't watched this video yet. I came across it. I was just going to do a reaction to the IGN gameplay, but I found something else that I think would help maybe balance it out a little bit more. And we're going to watch it in just a minute. But before I do that, I just want to say, something came out today, some news, and I might make a video talking about this, but check this out. The NPD report, some sales data has come out, and the PS5 is straight up carrying the console gaming market right now. Okay? The PS5 is straight up, and I know that some people think that's like a fanboy statement. No, that's actually like statistic. That's a fact. That's a statistic, a factual statistic that has come out. Xbox hardware is going down. People are not buying Xboxes. The Switch is starting to slow down, and I think the Switch I don't really count in the conversation because the Switch has been out since 2017. It's been out for a lot longer than the PS5 and the Xbox consoles. But pretty much Hogwarts Legacy and the PS5 are carrying the industry right now in a significant way. And check this out. Over on Twitter, we have Benji Sales. Okay, Benji Sales is an unbiased video game industry analyst, basically. He covers sales data, social metrics. He's unbiased. That's the point. Like, I understand if you hear me saying, like, it seems like Xbox is doing really bad when it comes to selling consoles. I get it. MBG, the PlayStation fanboy. Why would we listen to you? Well, this is what Benji Sales has to say on Twitter. He says, I have to be frank and honest. Xbox have a hardware sales problem on their hands currently. Xbox Series consoles had tremendous momentum coming out of 2021, and I was very bullish about their performance this generation, but things have slowed. They need to really turn things around this year. He continues by saying, it doesn't mean I think Xbox can't turn things around. There's some there are some factors that point to that potentially happening, such as great quality first-party games, which they will have to be great quality. And I don't know that Redfall is what we can consider great quality. Greatly improved Xbox Series X shipments, improved increase in marketing. And he has to put a disclaimer here before anyone gets upset. This isn't meant to be an anti-Xbox or negative tweet. I love the platform and want it to succeed. And that's just the way it is, man. That's the way it is. Unfortunately, on both sides of things. You say one negative thing, from a position where you're analyzing the data, and people will attack you. Unfortunately, but yeah, it seems like Xbox is having a difficult time selling their hardware. Because I believe the Xbox Series X and S sales were down by either 16 or 18%. Sales is not a metric of success. Not sure where you're getting that from. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I understand that these days engagement is just as important, and in some cases more important. There's no doubt about that. I mean, of course, when it comes to engagement with something like Game Pass, that's extremely important. But this idea, I don't know where you heard that. That's not true. Sales are absolutely important, and here's the thing. Sales are still the most significant metric of success. Because let me tell you right now, if PS5 sales were tanking right now, if Sony was having trouble selling PS5s, what the hell do you think they'd be doing? You think they'd be like, oh, it's not a big deal. Sales aren't a metric for success. What about the Switch? What if the Switch flopped? What if nobody bought the Switch, or not nearly enough people? We saw what happened. We've seen what happens when hardware doesn't sell. It's not good. But here we go. Just before I dive into the Redfall stuff again, UK, and this is data from the UK. We're gonna get. It wasn't actually the NPD report. It's from the UK. We're gonna get the NPD report soon. It'll see if it's similar. PlayStation 5 up over 180%, Switch down over 25%, Xbox Series down 80%. PlayStation 5 accounted for over 50%, over half of all consoles sold this entire quarter in the UK. Top software, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Hogwarts Legacy, FIFA, WWE, and somehow GTA 5. So, crazy stuff there. And so, I just wanted to kind of preface this because Microsoft is having a struggle selling Xbox hardware. The more of a struggle they have selling Xbox hardware, it's safe to say that they're going to have potentially a bit of a struggle getting more subscribers to Game Pass. That's just naturally how this works out. The more hardware you can sell, the more people you're going to likely get to subscribe to Game Pass. It just makes logical sense. And so Redfall is about to come out, and it's looking like, I don't know that Redfall is going to be the system seller that Microsoft was hoping it would be. I don't know that Redfall is going to do the heavy lifting that some people were thinking it would. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to bring up a video, if you can just give me 1 second, and I want to react to it with you guys. It should be interesting. Give me 1 second here. Probably should have had this prepared better, but why is it not working? For some reason, my window capture seemed to have completely crashed, which is unfortunate. Not a big deal. I can bring it back up. Here we go. All right, you're seeing Yang Ye. Okay, because that's whose video I'm reacting to. Because I gotta admit, I don't usually watch Yang Ye. Suddenly you see MBG. Next up, you just see Yang Ye's face. What's going on? But I wanted to react to Yang Ye's video because his title, I think, is pretty interesting. He says, Redfall's IGN first gameplay mass downvoted and torn apart by the internet. See, that's the thing. That's the thing. People come into this stream and they think MBG's claiming that the internet is tearing apart Redfall. MBG's claiming this? Well, clearly that's not true. MBG's biased. He's a PlayStation fan. Well, actually, no. It turns out that Yang, yeah, somebody who I think is considered I don't know. It seems like he's considered pretty unbiased. I don't know. I don't follow him too closely, but I know that he doesn't seem to be focused on any one platform. So I figured we could just kind of listen to what Yang has to say, and it should be pretty interesting. So let me make sure my sound levels are good. Let's give it a try here.
Marketing is an important part of any video game development cycle. It's how you let people know that your game exists
really lagging,
and what to look forward to with your game. And I feel like Arcane, as much as I tend to enjoy their games, their marketing has always suffered. Their last title was Deathloop. I don't think the marketing for that game was particularly great.
You guys hear it okay?
And now with their upcoming Redfall, I feel the same way. The first trailer that they showed off, I don't know, it was kind of hit or miss. Interesting concepts going on there, but they didn't show enough to really wow us. And then there was a whole situation where they confirmed that the game would be online only, but recently they did allow media to play the game, and those impressions fortunately have been more positive. Here is a basic summary from Okami Games. The bullet list includes things like strong single-player experience, Arcane's best gunplay yet, many comparisons to Far Cry, great level design that's very immersive, still has Arcane's DNA, working to remove always online requirement, a big plus, no in-game store or microtransactions, so on and so forth. For my part, I'm not fully sold on the game yet, but it has potential. The idea of essentially what is a cooperative hero shooter style gameplay, but with more of an open world single player experience a la Far Cry, where you get to hunt down vampires and combine powers to that end. It could be fun. I don't know. I have to get my hands on it. But what doesn't help is a recent gameplay that Arcane released through IGN First, which is this feature that IGN hosts where they get exclusive access to a game and promote it heavily. And Redfall happens to be the next big featured game for IGN First, except if you look at the likes to dislikes ratio, you'll see a whopping 5.7 thousand dislikes versus only 1.1 thousand likes.
That's
so
really
what exactly
bad.
went wrong? Well, what gameplay IGN showed here is pretty awful. When it comes to marketing, I think there is a spectrum of you can go too far and show gameplay that is really exaggerated and artificial looking, or that is just clearly fake, whose graphics and gameplay are spruced up and are not representative of the final game.
Sony did that.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, you can show gameplay
days.
that maybe has elements of what we'll see in the final game, but is so poorly shown that it almost does your game a disservice by not showing how it's played properly, and that's where this IGN gameplay sits at. A good middle point is just showing us gameplay that definitely looks realistic and achievable, and that is played proficiently. With this Redfall gameplay, man, it is frustrating and painful to watch, and it's a detriment to the game. And this is not me trying to make fun of the person who's playing this game. It's just like if you're IGN and you get exclusive access to gameplay for a game and are going to show that game off, there's a certain responsibility that comes with that to show the game not necessarily in an artificially good light, but in a balanced way where you show gameplay that feels representative of what the majority of players who are playing the game proficiently will experience, so we can get a genuinely good idea for what this game will actually play like. It's frustrating.
Okay, so I just want to say real quick, it seems like he's prefacing, if I could speak, this gameplay he's about to show, because I want it to be known, I have not seen this Redfall gameplay, so I'll see if I end up agreeing with him or not, but he's prefacing it by saying, basically, it seems like it's the person who is playing it, that the reason why it looks so bad and people are so hard on it is because of, the person playing, that they didn't do a good job or whatever. And so we'll see. I do want to point out, it's worth noting that we got a gameplay breakdown. I think it was back in January when Xbox had their Direct, and they showed a gameplay breakdown for Redfall. And a lot of people after that breakdown, which came directly from Arcane and the developers playing the game, a lot of people after that were basically saying, like, this doesn't look very good. Like, this looks very underwhelming. And I saw a lot of people saying that they were excited for it until they saw that Arcane gameplay breakdown. So I'm just going to keep that in mind while watching this. But then again, I don't know. I haven't seen the gameplay. Let's see just how bad this player is. And let's just see how potentially underwhelming Redfall actually is. So
frustrating when I want to get a genuine idea for the gameplay, and then the gameplay shown is just something that looks a lot more underwhelming, not because the game itself is that underwhelming, but because the person playing the game just doesn't really seem to be doing the gameplay justice. And so I don't know, I wish they would have either re-recorded this gameplay video or just found ways to just make it closer, more representative to how more people will play this game. You'll see what I mean. But before we delve into the gameplay footage, you know what isn't painful and is in fact the complete opposite, here. Offers relief. These earbuds right here, which
we're gonna skip
so
right over that.
Let me play this 3-minute footage for you guys and react along the way. Here we go.
All right, let's see. So, okay, I didn't realize Yang Ye just straight up reacted to this gameplay. I'm reacting to Yang Ye's reaction.
So starting out, you know, it's fine enough, but as the gameplay progresses, you'll see what I mean, why this is so frustrating for people to watch.
Dude, what the
The amount of running away that the player does. So right here, some shots hit. And then all the different cuts that happen throughout this footage. Yeah, this is... out here is where things start degrading. The player, for some reason, just runs away from the encounter. But alright, let's see where the player's headed next.
Well, okay, hold on, though.
Right here's an...
He said... Okay, so he's, like, pointing out multiple times that a player... whoever's playing this is running away, like, running. I mean, dude, like, you either... based off of my understanding with this gameplay, you're either running to get in position or you're shooting. Or you're using an ability. That seems to be the only, like, that's all I've really seen. So I don't know, man. I guess I'm just saying, based off of what I'm seeing so far, the player running is not necessarily, to me, what comes off as underwhelming or bad. I'm kind of looking at this, and I'm looking at the enemy in particular, like this big vampire brute dude, and he just seems not that intimidating at all. Like, there's nothing here that I'm seeing that makes me feel like this player is really threatened. I don't know, the sound. So the one thing is the sound quality's really low, so I can't really judge it on that. But I don't know, man. So far, whoever's playing it doesn't seem that bad so far. I don't know. Let's keep it going. Let's see.
Enemy gets shot, very low health, but the player doesn't finish him off, runs away, frantically running around the field. And it's just, like, hard to figure out what this game is from this footage, you know what I mean? And the marketing of a game should aim to give players a good idea for a game. And then, I mean...
I don't know why it's so funny,
mistakes,
dude.
And then just more running away. Low health, I get it, but... Okay, heal up, and then... I don't know where that went. It's just running around.
Okay, so I will admit, dude, the way they're cutting this footage is horrendous. Like, it already doesn't look that great, but they just keep cutting it. Like, it is weird, but dude, what I'm seeing so far is exactly what we've been seeing from this game. Like, this is real gameplay. I mean, let me just point this out here for a second. Could it possibly be that Yang Ye and others, I mean, I know people are like, oh, it's the dude playing the game. We got to see gameplay that's indicative of what, like, the actual experience is going to be like. Dude, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people playing the game somewhat like this. You know? Like, it's not going to look like what Arcane showed back in January, where everything's perfectly cut and put together in a way that makes it look like this is how the game's going to be played. When in reality, no, it's probably going to be in some ways a lot more underwhelming than even what we saw back in January. So, well, I don't know, man. It's looking like Redfall.
Whole lot. And then a bunch of cuts that makes this all more disorienting when it comes to trying to figure out what's going on.
I will admit, it does seem like whoever's playing has no idea what they're doing. But then again, the AI doesn't look like it's.
And right here, a bunch
knows
of
what it's
shots
doing.
missed.
This dude is chasing this guy. Meanwhile, this guy's just standing here.
And you can see right here that, oh man,
what's going on, bro? This is a disaster.
The boss was at low health, sniper rifle in hand, cuts away. The boss is still alive, or I don't know if it's a boss, but the tougher enemy's still alive. Runs away again, doesn't just finish him off, throws more stuff kind of. Once
Dude,
again,
oh
just
my God.
fails to finish the enemy off. I don't know.
This looks terrible. This looks worse than This looks like Back for Blood,
oof.
dude.
Yeah, that's
Look at that. Look at that enemy. What is he doing?
the finisher's cool, I guess.
No way.
But it really, this really was a very disorienting, frustrating gameplay bit to watch.
Dude,
if you look at the not just likes to dislikes ratio, but also the comment section, you'll see that this footage is getting torn apart. Gotta give IGN credit for making any game they play excruciating to watch. Honestly, the fact that IGN chose to show this gameplay perspective instead of anyone else's genuinely makes me wonder how they all compare to this guy. When you give your little brother a controller, there's no way this is the best footage of this game that they got. Here's somebody highlighting all of the mistakes that they saw. Why are you fighting a giant boss inside a cramped house? Why are you now running away from the boss and then shooting ads while your team gets killed? Why are you lock-picking a door mid-combat instead of rezzing teammates? Why are you throwing your translocator and then not using it? Why are you sniping an enemy 3 feet in front of you? Why did you take the killing blow when you barely contributed anything? Others are frustrated at just the sheer number of cuts that were featured in this footage. This is a bad showcase. Stop skipping around. Show us the full fight. And look, I'm not saying that players aren't allowed to make mistakes. That's a part of genuine gameplay. But when your whole gameplay presentation is just a sequence of mistakes and you're constantly giving us weirdly placed cuts.
All right, so let me get this straight. I think I get the gist of the rest of this video. Like, it's clear that Young, at least Young, yeah, he seems to be completely focused on the IGN factor, right? The fact that whoever's playing at IGN, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what's going on. I don't know about this because oops, there's Young again. I'm looking at this gameplay, dude, and I am just like, so if the player was good, right? Like if the player was good, what's the big difference I'm supposed to notice? What's the big difference I'm supposed to see? Because, dude, that gameplay looks, it looks so bland and boring. And I mean that, dude. Like, I'm just sitting here trying to imagine, and I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to imagine if Sony made a game like this and they put out this gameplay footage. Granted, I do agree that whoever was playing this clearly didn't know what they were doing. But I'm sitting here looking at that enemy, like that big, I don't know what the name of it is, but that big vampire brute enemy. Dude, that AI looks horrendous. It looks like it's just running up, hit, and then it gets damaged, and then it's I just don't understand, man. I don't understand like how people are saying this looks good. I mean, people shit all over Forspoken for its gameplay, but I mean, I at least give Forspoken the credit that it tried to be a little bit more creative. I didn't like it. I don't think it worked out very well. I played the Forspoken demo and I'm like, this does not feel good. Like, this does not feel good. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't know, man. I've been burned by games like this in the past. I got extremely excited. You're saying no reaction to bullets. Yeah, I mean, you just see the numbers popping out. It it looks like a Game Pass game. Straight up. Straight up. I am not sure how anybody I'm not sure how anybody would be willing to potentially pay $70 for this. I'm serious. Like, that's crazy. We got a couple super chats here. Sheik, you're saying MBG bashing games is why we're getting remakes, remastered this generation. I wonder why publishers don't take risk on new IP. Don't become part of the problem. Dude, if this is what they're going to shovel out as new IP, then they can keep it, bro. They can keep it. Because dude, that's the thing. I praised Redfall for at least it's a new IP, right? I praised Forspoken. I praised Square Enix trying to make a new IP, a AAA IP. But it's like, it doesn't matter how much money is put into a game. It doesn't matter if it's a new IP. What matters is the game good. Is it good? Or is it not? And people pretty much determined, look, I'm not speaking for everybody, but generally the consensus for Forspoken is that this game wasn't good. So it's like, I'm not going to sit here and try to prop up new IP just for the sake of, well, it's a new IP, so it's okay if it's bad. No, like, it has to be good. That's not me advocating for, I want more remakes, I want more remasters. I mean, in some cases I do, depending on the series, but no, I want new IP as well, but I want good IP. And I understand that that's difficult, but that's the point, man. If it's not easy. If it was, we'd have great new IP all the time. But dude, I don't know, man. New Soul 9, you're saying, MBG, we can't really determine success with Xbox because they're not following Sony's model. Also, subscribers for Game Pass can come in different many ways, especially with Samsung TV and PC. The console is not a necessity. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I agree with that. I know that Microsoft doesn't view the Xbox console as a necessity anymore, but still, New Soul 9, I think even you can agree that seeing Xbox console sales down each month in the negatives, that's not good. You know, I'm not saying it means Xbox is done or they're in trouble or they're sinking and they're going to go under. Obviously not. Game Pass is their priority, but I'm just pointing out that for those who try to make it seem like sales don't matter, they do. They do matter. Like, Xbox is not happy to see their consoles not selling or to see the numbers in the negative. They're not happy about that. They want to change that. They want to sell more consoles. And even though it's not, you say necessity, I look at it as it's not a priority. And the reason why it's not a priority is because Game Pass is, but that's the thing. If you can sell somebody a $300 or $500 console, then it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to then sell them on a $10 subscription service. You see what I'm saying? It's because if somebody's willing to invest that type of money into the console ecosystem, they are absolutely ready and willing to invest a lot less, at least up front, into the subscription model. So believe it or not, Xbox consoles not selling well does hurt Game Pass. Just like if the PS5 console didn't sell well, it would hurt PlayStation Plus, Premium and Extra. It would. It's just the way it is, man. But you are correct in that Game Pass is the priority, and Game Pass is available in other places. But still, man, there is a reason why Microsoft still puts a lot of resources and a lot of effort into their consoles. Neutral Zone 1, you're saying go check Colt Eastwood's gameplay. And then another individual underneath says, watch Colt Eastwood's gameplay. It's way better, to be honest. Maybe I'll go check Colt Eastwood's gameplay. But, like, I mean, dude, Colt Eastwood is he's an Xbox fanboy. That'd be like sending somebody over to my channel to watch Forspoken gameplay. I don't know, man. Unless you guys maybe are saying he played it better. I guess I could go check it out. But I doubt. Like, that's the thing is, there's no doubt that the person who's playing this, as I said, they don't know what they're doing. Like, they don't know what they're doing. This person at IGN, I'm not sure how this got approved. I'm not sure how this got approved, right? But still, I'll be honest, like I didn't feel much different when I checked or when I watched the Xbox Direct and they had that whole breakdown of the gameplay. It's like once they showed like a gameplay chunk, it just looked like, oh, this is like Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood, kind of similar, but it doesn't look very exciting to me. I mean, for $10, maybe, sure. For $10. Saying Cold Eastwood's gameplay does show off the game better, but it still looks bland as hell. All right, give me a second and we'll go check it out. Josh, you're saying this feels like Sonic Frontiers before release. IGN sucked at marketing that too. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And we'll see. I mean, look, man, the game could come out and it could review extremely well. It could review extremely well for all we know. Yeah, let me see here. Trying to find his video. Redfall Xbox exclusive gameplay preview.
All right, I got hands on.
All right, hold on one sec, guys. I'll watch a little bit of this. See if it looks any better.
I finally got to play Redfall from Arcane. Let's look at what the game looks like. Let's see what it feels like. Let's talk about Redfall.
My God.
Just a couple of weeks ago, I flew to LA to sit down with the team from Arcane who are working on Redfall releasing May 2nd this year in 2023, a major Xbox exclusive from the studio that brought us Prey, the Dishonored series. I've been waiting a long time for this. I was very fortunate to sit down with 20 other content creators and listen to Ricardo Bear, the head of the studio, get us ready and get us excited to play this game in single player. Here is the footage they provided of the experience we had to play in a mission, but we had full access to the game a couple of hours in. Of course, the first thing I did was chose to play as Layla Ellison. She's the biomedical engineering student who volunteered for medical trial where something went very wrong, and now she's got these telekinetic abilities. She actually reloads her gun with telekinesis, and she has the huge purple umbrella shield and that purple elevator that takes you up and gets you into combat and over big obstacles to get a jump on the enemy. The lead of the studio, Ricardo Bear, said, "I'm going to have all of you guys play this game by yourselves because if I let you loose multiplayer and in co-op, you'll all run around like a bunch of hyenas killing everything in sight."
Sorry, I don't know. Apparently this is like causing some lag, but dude, I just want to say, like, I'm listening to everything he's saying and that's fine. I mean, he's clearly extremely enthusiastic about the game, but even just this short video clip that I'm seeing now, I'll watch more, but he's just walking up to enemies and blasting them. That's it. Like, that's all it is. And I'm not, like, here's the thing. I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, because if that's what you consider, like, fun gameplay and good, sure. And this is where I think if Redfall is going to succeed, it's going to succeed because people are just going to be like, yo, I just like to get some guns and shoot some shit. Like, I get it. I like to do that too sometimes. But if the argument here is like, oh, Redfall doesn't look underwhelming, it looks really good, actually, I'm just like, well, okay. So far, it just looks like the enemy AI is just standing there, and he's just straight up walking up to him with the shotgun. I don't know. Maybe they have it on easy mode. I don't know. But we'll keep.
And you won't get a feel for the tone of the game. And this is exactly what we got with big headphones on, with an Xbox controller in our hands. We were set out in the open world. We could go over to the main mission, which was a mansion up on a hill where a rogue doctor and scientist had been experimenting up in his attic and is partially responsible for the major vampire outbreak. But I chose to look around in the open world, and this is the open world of Redfall. It is much like a tourist town, but if you want to compare it to other games, the very first thing I thought of was State of Decay 2, mixed with a more compact version of Far Cry. In fact, most everything I saw and played felt like a version of Far Cry without the vehicles to drive around and the wingsuiting nonsense. But you could go over to every building, go into most shops, and loot like you would expect in Dishonored or Prey. Let's talk about the visuals for just a second before we get into some of the meaty combat. The visuals of the game look like an in-between version of what you would normally expect from Arcane Studios, but with more realism, but it is definitely stylized.
I'm gonna skip ahead here a little bit. Not really.
You can set your loadout, and from there you go out into the open world, and you could head toward that main mission, but there are also nests. These are big areas that have been captured by the vampires, and inside a blue bubble, they are buffed with extra health and more power. If you go in here and take out the vampires, you have to look for a generator, much like you would see in the original Dying Light. Once you bring those generators online, the UV lights turn on, and you get all the vampires out of that influence area, and you gain some gear along the way. There are many of these open world areas that you can take on yourself, or move towards mission points, or find safe houses, which will become fast travel stations to get throughout the world faster.
Dude,
because everything happens in real time,
they're just like,
on foot, unless you're fast
they're
traveling.
just standing
Let's
there.
talk for a minute about one main mission that was available to us that we can show you here, and that's that mansion where the evil doctor and scientist has been holed up and finding out the reasons and the clues why this breakout happened. Going into this mansion, it was actually protected by watchers, which are cult members. I thought they were vampires, but the team from Arcane explained that these are actually cultists who have pleaded so much to become vampires that the vampires have infused them with this husk-like creature. They become a watcher, and they become their eyes on the field.
Look at that.
For us coming in
what is it
and
trying to
storming the
hit?
gates. Everything you do has meaning, and everything you do has consequence. And they explain there is a meter that runs at the top of the screen called
all right, dude,
the vampires.
come on. This is what I'm
hunting
talking
you.
about.
And this is a situation with
Sorry, it causing it to lag every time I move my cursor. But it's like, dude, this is what I'm talking about. I'm looking at this enemy, and it's just like slowly moving, hitting air, and it's like the player just has to move 5 feet and shoot. I don't know, man. It's not selling me. It's really not.
all of the vampires you take down, some of the little bosses and some of their scouts, it will increase that meter, much like you saw in Prey. If you played the game, you'll get a meter up and the nightmare will come. This will bring a major, huge, hard to kill vampire boss if you get that meter all the way full. Then you'll have to stop what you're doing and take on a huge fight. And this is when co-op would be absolutely crucial. But playing the game alone has its own merit. It gives you that immersion and that feel of being by yourself and having a fear of the vampires you wouldn't have when you're with friends. If you do choose to play the game in co-op, which many will, Redfall will scale the enemies and the difficulty according to your level and who is helping you play in the game. Girl with the little yellow robot dog was another big favorite among the group, and this is a really good thing. In fact, just trying to choose which
These
character you're going to play
are
as
just
the prospect of multiple playthroughs
there.
with friends using different
They're
characters
literally
and different
just
builds
standing
will be so
stationary.
exciting for Redfall. Now, I don't know which character I'm going to choose when the game comes out. Creativity is another great feature of this game, as each character plays different, and the way you choose to move around the world feels really great. In fact, I was really surprised to see that the characters actually mantle and climb up ladders and get over obstacles.
Really? Like, you're surprised that a character can mantle in a first-person shooter and climb a ladder? Come on, man. Like, this is... I'm sorry, dude. Like, for anybody who's excited, be excited. But I'm telling you, like, this is why people, when they are checking IGN and whatnot, yeah, the dude playing looks like he's doing a horrendous job, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not. I mean, look, like I was watching that gameplay, and it, to me, I'm looking at the basic enemies. So if you look at a game like Left 4 Dead or even Back 4 Blood, even Back 4 Blood got this part of it right. Back 4 Blood got a shit ton of things wrong. But one thing that Back 4 Blood got right is they understood that in this co-op zombie game, one of the biggest things that's going to matter, just like it mattered in Left 4 Dead, are the hordes. So you're going to have like mindless, brain-dead enemies, but they're going to come in mass waves, and the fun is you can get overwhelmed by the sheer numbers. And the fun is slaughtering all of them before that happens, right? I'm looking at this, and it's like I'm seeing enemies, what are clearly normal enemies, they're just standing there. Literally stationary. So it's like, well, I'll throw my thing to do special abilities now or whatever, you know? Saying I bought Back 4 Blood, I did make the mistake. Absolutely. And I should have known that game was a Game Pass game. And I'll be real, like, I should have played that through Game Pass is what I should have done. Because Back 4 Blood was not good. And they really got me with the whole, oh, it's like Left 4 Dead again. And I'm like, I love Left 4 Dead. But I'm looking at like, the gameplay that I just saw of the special vampire, whatever, like, I get like it's a little bit slow moving. If it gets too close, it'll do like massive damage to you. But it just, I don't know, man. It just looks like you just walk around, shoot, throw your little thing, use your special ability, move 5 feet, rinse and repeat. I don't know, man. I just, it doesn't, I mean, it's the one thing that is interesting to me about Redfall is the open world, but I don't know. It looks fine, I guess, right? You're saying check the IGN preview. Yeah, maybe I'll actually go watch the IGN preview itself. Let me do that real quick. See, do Redfall IGN. All right, hold on. All right, let's actually just watch the IGN gameplay ourselves because I haven't actually done that. And you know what? Before I do that, I do want to make sure I want to make sure I can see it. It's at like 360p. I'll at least put it at 720. My PC seems to be struggling to keep up for some damn reason. So I guess this is like a boss battle. Dude. Okay, hold on. I'm noticed. Is he supposed to be floating or flying? Because he looks like he's barely. Looks like he's just like hovering. Dude, yeah, whatever they're doing, whatever IGN's doing with these cuts here, they need to stop that shit. He's literally shooting at this guy, and the AI is not reacting. It's just standing there, letting him shoot him. No resistance whatsoever. And for some, yeah, it is weird. Like, why didn't you finish him off? Okay, so this... he just ran right by the boss. He just literally ran right by him, and the AI, it just stood there. It just stood there and let him walk right by. It seems like the only time that the AI actually has a chance to do any serious damage is if they happen to go indoors in a confined space. I don't know, man. It just looks so underwhelming. It does. It doesn't look like horrible. Like, this doesn't look like a 3 out of 10 game, but it just doesn't look like this is the best you guys can do with a new IP. Whatever, man. I guess if people are hyping it up, they're hyping it up, but I can understand why the internet is, Look at it! Look at this dude! This is terrible. He's just running and not even attacking. And I'm talking about the enemy AI.
Still alive. Wild.
Oh god, okay. And the cringe dialogue. Dude, it looks not good. It looks not good. Even Colt Eastwood couldn't sell me on this game, man. It does not look good. It's rough. But, you know, the biggest thing that's surprising me, truthfully, and I gotta be honest here, the biggest thing that's like, and I didn't even expect this, is as I'm watching this, I can't believe how bad the AI is. Like, that to me is surprising. Like, this is a game that's centered around, you know, co-op, teamwork, killing enemies, killing these vampires, and it looks like this AI is like brain dead and doesn't even know how to attack properly. It's not looking good, man. Josh, you're saying, oh yeah, that feels like Sonic Frontiers before release. Kyrie Williams, you're saying, I got an honest question. What is the point of the stream? Like, you had a whole love of critiquing yourself, and then over a week later talking about Xbox. I swear, as a PlayStation, you talk about Xbox a lot. Well, dude, that's the thing, Kyrie. Like, the point of the stream is I wanted to do it. The point of the stream is this is what I wanted to talk about today. I could continue to talk about PlayStation VR 2 or something like that, but it's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this because I came across it, and I think, you know what, man? Like, Redfall was a game that if you listen to me talk in the past, I had some interest in. And as time went on and I saw more of it, I'm like, I'm losing interest. And now I'm seeing like people are, you know, I'm seeing it trend and I'm seeing people call it out. I'm like, well, what's going on here? And yeah, I am a PlayStation centric channel, but I'm going to talk about what it is I want to talk about, man. And what I'm talking about today is Redfall and how it's looking pretty not great. So what's the point of the stream? I want to stream this. You don't have to watch it. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I have different content on the channel here. So if you don't like a stream where I'm talking about Redfall and Xbox and stuff like that, then just tune out. You know, I put out a video yesterday, talks about some PlayStation news. I got plenty of PlayStation news videos. The last podcast I did, most of the topics were talking about PlayStation. So, you know, it is what it is, man. I will admit, and look, here's the thing. You're right. I did a stream critiquing myself. And the biggest critique I had was that when I basically went off on that Redfall report, I literally went off. Like, I became unhinged and I seemed like practically a crazy person screaming into the camera. And I'm not trying to do that because that's not that's just not a good representation of myself or anything else. What I'm doing here, I mean, some people might think this is a fanboy thing, and that's fine. I mean, I could say every day, all day, I'm not a fanboy, but let's be honest. Like, when people hear the name MBG or when they talk about it, like, they assume, oh, that the PlayStation fanboy. Sure, whatever. But regardless of how people view me or what they want to call me or what they think I am, like, I'm entitled to my opinion on Redfall, and I'm going to give my opinion on it. And there are going to be people that say, well, wait till you play it and then judge it. Like, no. No, that's not why they do previews. That's not why they're putting out gameplay. They're putting this stuff out now so people can judge it before they buy it and determine if they are interested in buying it or playing it. Dude, I'm not even kidding right now when I say I wouldn't even subscribe to Game Pass to play this. That's how weak it looks. It looks completely underwhelming, dude. And I swear, Sony, please. Sony, I know you're doing your multiplayer live service games. Please don't make shit like this. Please don't make shit like this, because it's too derivative. It's too unoriginal. And that's the thing. Somebody mentioned a new IP earlier. Yeah, this is a new IP, right? Like, Redfall's a new IP, but what the hell is original about this? There's not a single thing about this game that's even remotely original. Not a single thing. Not one thing. It's crazy, man. It's crazy to me. I'm telling you, Microsoft better pray. Microsoft better pray that Starfield is the big mega hit that they need it to be, and everybody's expecting it to be. You're saying check the preview for it on IGN. I just did. But dude, if Starfield there's only one thing that's going to save Xbox this year, and I'm telling you, it's not going to be the Activision Blizzard merger. Maybe in the long run, that's what'll save Game Pass. But what's going to save Xbox this year is it's going to be Starfield. It's going to have to be, because Redfall ain't it. And Starfield has a lot of it. I feel sorry for Starfield, man. You know why? Because Starfield went from being a multi-platform game that was going to be the next big RPG from Bethesda that had to compete with, Bethesda's own games like Fallout and Elder Scrolls. It went from being that to not only is it still that, but now it has to literally carry all of Xbox in 2023 and for who knows how long. I mean, they'll have Forza that comes out, I think, this year, but come on, man, it's Forza. I'm not even going to count that. How the hell are you going to count Forza? Because Redfall ain't it, man. And, I mean, people, I'm telling you, a lot of these people who were quick to talk about how fucking great Redfall looks, these are the same motherfuckers that are out here shit talking Forspoken and laughing. But they'll come out here and be like, yo, Redfall looks dope. Like, dude, get a fucking reality check, bro. Forspoken was cringe as hell. Forspoken had some serious issues. And Redfall looks like it's going to suck straight up. Like, I'm not even fucking holding back now. It looks bad. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I wouldn't even subscribe to Game Pass for that. Thank you for becoming a member, Brarios. I really appreciate that. Yeah, guys, consider becoming a channel member. Consider gifting channel memberships. I really appreciate that. Forspoken is not from a PlayStation studio. You're right about that. You're right about that. Andy Russo says, this clown respected GT7. Andy, please go back. Go back. What was it, March of 2022? Please go watch my stream, my podcast I did talking about GT7. Please go check my Twitter, check my tweets. People are so quick to fucking pull out anything I say or do that I own up to and say, oh, yeah, you're right. I was hypocritical about that. I was wrong about that. But people will never give credit where it's due. I shit on GT7 when it came out for the way that they handled it. I did, and I called it out. And if you don't believe me, the receipts are there. Go check. And it's just like, it's funny to me that like that's the shit that people who want to defend Redfall, that's what they want to use, you know? I mean, it's like, dude, listen, I clearly have a preference for PlayStation. That doesn't mean I don't call PlayStation out. Like, I literally saw somebody on this very stream in my chat claiming that, oh yeah, you'll do a dedicated stream about Redfall's previews or getting torn apart, but you won't say a thing about Forspoken. You won't say a thing about Sony and everything that's going on. Like, dude, have you not been paying attention to any of my content? My last dedicated stream outside of my podcast was literally me ripping Jim Ryan apart and Sony apart for their latest statements. So call me a fanboy, call me biased, call me whatever you want, but at least acknowledge that, oh, you did do that. You actually did do that. It's right there right now. I mean, come on. People, I swear, man, people, they just want to, I think they just want to pick a fight with me. And I get it. Like, I'm coming off very aggressive, and I understand why people want to do that. But, I mean, come on, like, people make it sound like I'm trying to hide the fact that I think PlayStation's better than Xbox. I'm not hiding that fact, or at least my opinion of that. It's up to you to decide whether you agree with me. But I'm not hiding my opinion that, yeah, I think PlayStation is significantly better than Xbox. And I think Xbox, they've had some work to do, man, when it comes to games. And they're coming out with Redfall, and it's like, dude, you go a whole year. Xbox goes a whole year without having any major releases from any one of their studios. And this is the first thing that they come out with. And it's from Bethesda, from them acquiring them. I don't get it. I don't get it. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't get how people can be so positive towards Xbox. High on Life. You're saying High on Life is the big release from Xbox in 2022. I don't know, man. I guess. I mean, I haven't played the game, so I don't know. Hi-Fi Rush. All right. Well, Look, man, people love Hi-Fi Rush. I'm not going to take that away from Microsoft. I can't. It's a fact. People really enjoyed it. But, okay. I guess if that's the game, then that's the game, man. If Hi-Fi Rush is Xbox's and Microsoft's champion, then so be it. So be it. Kirihi, you're saying, hey, MBG, I love your streams and videos. Thank you, bud. Really appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Kyrie Williams, you're saying, with all due respect, I don't have to watch your content at all, especially when you aren't even the best person to go to for PlayStation. You complain about console war drama, but then you always invite it. You know what? I will give you this, Kyrie. You are correct about that. I will agree that you are correct in that I do a lot of times make it seem like, I'm not going to stop talking about Xbox. I'm just going to keep it purely PlayStation. I'm not going to get involved with the drama and the BS. And then I end up doing it. You're absolutely right about that. And that's where it's just like, you know what? It's people a lot of times, I think, say one thing and then do another. And I'm guilty of that. I am guilty of that. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, I'm just trying now to just embrace that. Look, I could sit here and say, I could do an entire stream tomorrow saying I'm never talking about Xbox again. Never doing it, right? And then I'm going to end up doing it. Saying, why is MBG even entertaining this troll? Well, I mean, hey, they paid for a super chat. I'm going to give them their due time, I mean, I appreciate it. And you are right, Kyrie. Like, you're right. You're saying, with all due respect, you do not have to watch my content. And you think there are people who do it better. By all means, like, I'm not going to be an a-hole about it and say, F you, get the hell out of here. No, I mean, I appreciate anybody who's going to hang out and chill with me for a little bit. I'm not saying I anticipate everybody's going to agree with me or, be as harsh as me. Definitely not. Let me see here. Josh, you're saying, I don't usually roast games, but holy hell, what do these people do over at Xbox? Metroid Prime Remaster is running on Switch and it looks and plays better. Well, that's the thing is apparently there have been some reports with Redfall that it's going to come in hot. It's going to come in like it's not performing that well and it's struggling a bit. And so, I mean, I can't speak to that. I haven't played it. That's just what I've been hearing. And I'm telling you now, man, it's a situation that would not be ideal for Microsoft. If Microsoft, look, I'm not saying Microsoft can do anything about the gameplay of Redfall. Like, if Redfall gets somewhat negative review scores or like middle review scores, it's kind of in the middle. If this happens because the gameplay just really isn't that great and people are like, yeah, it's okay, it's really not going to help the game if it's not performance-wise up to snuff. And, and looking like it's in a good stable state. So we'll see if what's up with that. And that's actually why I'm bringing up Ghostwire Tokyo in a minute, because Ghostwire Tokyo, dude, is apparently it's not running well on Xbox, and this is just truly baffling to me. Like, I am seriously baffled by this claim from a Xbox centric website, an Xbox fan, like legit saying that it's performing poorly. And I'm like, this is a first party Xbox studio. What the hell do you mean it's performing poorly? You're telling me this first party Xbox studio put out a better performing game on PlayStation 5? That makes no sense. Makes no sense. Dereal, you're saying if you're interested, you would play it on Game Pass instead of looking at clips and making your decisions based on that. You want to be like Mystic, go play Returnal. I mean, dude, I don't want to be like. Why would I want to be like Mystic, man? Mystic does his own thing. If I tried to be like Mystic, why would anybody watch me? Mystic's Mystic, man, and he does his thing, and he's been doing his thing for like over a decade, and he does it very well. I respect Mystic. No, dude, I'm MBG, and I'm gonna be MBG. And you know what MBG has to say? MBG has to say Returnal was fucking fantastic, and I loved it. The Platinum was a goddamn nightmare, though. MBG says Returnal was amazing. MBG also says, based off of what I'm seeing of Redfall, it doesn't look great. You're saying I should play it and base my decision off that. Well, I will admit that the barrier to entry to Redfall is not that risky. It's not. It's $10 to subscribe to Game Pass to play it. I don't know, man. I again, like, that's the thing, is I would still have to give money. I think it's insane that Microsoft is actually pricing this game at $70. I think that's unbelievable. Like, nobody should be paying $70 for this game. People should be subscribing to Game Pass to play this game if they're going to play it. And if you like love it and you want to own a copy of the game, then maybe buy it. But maybe I should stream Redfall. That would be pretty funny. I mean, dude, look, man, I'll tell you this, Dereal. And I'm not trying to be combative. I appreciate the super chat, but I just want to point this out. I don't recall reading a super chat from you or anybody else for that matter when I was basically saying, Forspoken doesn't look that good. Forspoken seems incredibly cringe. Forspoken's dialogue makes me want to just curl up and cry in a corner. Really, it's that painful. I don't like it. I didn't get any super chats from anybody saying I would be better off making my decisions based off of playing it. No. In fact, I saw a lot of people being like, yeah, Forspoken does look like it's trash. Forspoken is trash. Game's gonna flop. Just saying, man. Like, why is it okay for me to make the decision that, you know what? And actually, the one thing I will say, if there was a demo, you're saying I'm being combative. Hey, man, I'm just trying to defend myself a little bit here, only because, look, I feel like we got to keep it fair here. If Returnal I read the word Returnal, so I said it. If Redfall had a demo, I'd probably at least give it a try. Probably play it on my PC, which would be interesting in and of itself. I mean, I will say, hold on. These dudes, man. They make it too easy. You know that? All right. Oh, that always feels so good. I just think it's fascinating that if I determine that Forspoken doesn't seem that good, I was excited for it, but the more I saw of it, the less excited I got. The more I saw of Forspoken, the less interesting it became. I'll tell you right now, I was grateful that Square Enix put out a demo of Forspoken. I was grateful that I was able to play this game before I potentially bought it. But I knew going into that demo, I'm like, this is a major uphill battle. Like, I pretty much already made my decision that I'm not, like, this game's going to have to wow me beyond belief to get me to walk away from this demo thinking, oh, dude, I'm $70. Here you go. Day one. And the entire build up to that game that you saw from me was totally truthful. I saw Forspoken when it was announced. There was some mystery and intrigue surrounding it, and the more we saw of it, the less interesting it became to me. And it just got to a point where I realized, like, I don't want to play this game, and I definitely don't want to pay any money to play this game. I feel very similarly about Redfall, because at one point I thought Redfall might have been a game that, like, okay, you know, this looks like it has potential. But I don't know. If Redfall was releasing on PS5 right now, there's no chance in hell I'd be willing to pay $70 to play it. Would I pay $10 to play it on Game Pass? I don't know, man. I said it earlier that I wouldn't, and I still feel that way. This gameplay looks bad. Like, it just looks straight up bad. Let me see. I got a couple more super chats here. New Soul 9, you're saying, MBG to answer, I would only worry if I found out Xbox saw console sales as the way to being successful / profitable. I believe console sales, they're more like a bonus in their eyes, so we really shouldn't worry. Well, let me ask you this, New Soul 9. Again, I'm not trying to be combative. I'm just trying to ask a real question right now. You're saying that you would only worry if you found out that Xbox viewed console sales as successful, like as basically you would worry if you believed that Xbox found success and profit through the console ecosystem, through console sales. And this is a genuine question. I'm not being snarky about it. Did you worry about Xbox with the original Xbox, with the Xbox 360, and with the Xbox One? Because all three generations of those Xbox consoles, that's exactly what Microsoft was doing. Microsoft was paving their way to potential success and profitability, or trying to anyway, through their console sales. And it was only until the Xbox One failed and could not even get to like the 40 million, 50 million sold mark that they decided we're going to have to find success in another way by creating Game Pass. I'm just asking because it's like, that's the thing, man, is if your answer is yes, like if you said I was worried about Xbox, but now I'm not, that makes sense to me. Because right now I wouldn't be worried about Xbox. Right now I wouldn't be worried about Xbox because Xbox they have the entire backing of Microsoft and all of Microsoft's money, and they're willing to brute force their way to success with Game Pass. They weren't willing to do that with the console. So I'm just saying, like, you know, Microsoft did try to succeed in that exact way, and they almost did. Like, they could have. I think that's the craziest thing about Xbox as a console manufacturer is all they had to do was not screw up with the Xbox One. And they screwed it up as badly as they could. And I think that's sad because the 360 really was like the high point, in my opinion, of the Xbox console. And it showed that they knew what they were doing and they knew how to do it. And then with the Xbox One, they just apparently they were just like, this is how we get to millions more people. I mean, it's weird, man. It's weird to see how it went down. Kirihi, you're saying, what do you think the new IP of Ben will be of Ben Studio? There was a rumor that it's going to be like the new IP from Ben Studios. Apparently, if the rumors to be believed, we have no idea if it is to be believed though. It's going to be like a combination of Metal Gear Solid 5 and Hitman. It's going to be like a stealth game, AAA stealth game with multiplayer, like co-op, based in the Cold War, which sounds like it has a lot of potential if they can do it right. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Leo, you're saying I bought a Series X for Starfield recently, and I'm already bored with Game Pass. I mean, look, man, I've never been one to say that Game Pass isn't a good deal, right? Like, I think Game Pass objectively is a good deal for, like, you know, the amount of money you're putting down, at least for a month of it, versus what you're getting in return. But I'm just surprised that no one seems to be focused on the fact that Microsoft hasn't talked about Game Pass numbers in a long time. Like, Game Pass is not hitting big numbers. And maybe Starfield will change that. We've talked about that. But I don't think you're the only one that gets bored of Game Pass, dude. I'll be honest, like, I think there are just some things happening in gaming. Like, I think there are just some things happening in gaming, whether it's on PlayStation, on Xbox, just the gaming landscape in general. There are some things that I think are just genuinely concerning when it comes to, like, where is the creativity, really? Where is the innovation? You know? Sony says 30 million subscribers in the CMA filing. 30 million subscribers in... When did Game Pass come out? 2017? That's like six years or so on the market. Is that good? I don't know if that doesn't sound very good to me. 30 million in 6 years. Maybe it's good. I don't know. I don't know what their measurement of success is. I don't know what they expect. DeReal, I missed you. You're saying y'all champion Stray over this. You see why I'm laughing? When have I... Dude, I'm not championing... I mean, maybe some people are. Stray apparently was a good game. It was fine. But I'll be honest, man, like, the difference between a game like Stray and Redfall, which, first off, I don't know that they're even worth comparing, but if you're going to try to make that comparison, the difference between those two games, fundamentally, they're very different games. But Stray was never viewed... Like, could you imagine if Stray was PlayStation's champion? Like, if PlayStation went all of 2022 with no major releases, but the only release they had was Stray, and PlayStation fans had no choice but to latch onto Stray as this is our reason for being here. Just Stray and Stray alone. That would be sad. That would be incredibly depressing, and I wouldn't be playing on PlayStation the way I do. If Sony went an entire year saying, just wait, in the meantime, here's Stray, I would have said, are you kidding me? Like, this is why I bought a PlayStation console? No, it's not. I bought a PlayStation console for games like Stray to be the icing on the cake if I so desire to play them. That's why I bought a PlayStation console. I bought a PlayStation console for the big AAA games that Sony is known to deliver. And if they don't deliver them, if they can't, I'm likely to go away and stop playing and stop being engaged. That's why, dude, honestly, like, the past couple months, the only thing that has, in my opinion, been saving PlayStation are the big third-party multiplats. Forspoken was supposed to be a big release for PlayStation, and it flopped. PSVR 2 is separate from the PS5. And outside of that, Sony, they haven't released anything. Like, if it wasn't for the big third-party multiplats, I would genuinely feel like, Sony, you're not giving me much of a reason to you know, play my PS5 right now. Really. At least not as much of a reason as I would like. So, you know, they have, luckily, Final Fantasy coming in June, and that looks like it's going to be really good. But, you know, I look at, each year. I evaluate each year that I'm playing on PlayStation, and I give credit where it's due, and I give criticism where I believe it's due. Like, even for as good as 2022 was, again, this is something that people won't talk about. I'm telling you, they will refuse to clip me saying this. They will refuse to talk about me in this way because they don't want to believe that I'm willing to say these things. Like, even in 2022, when I thought that was a great year for PlayStation, like, Sony consistently had big games releasing. Even then, I was still critical by saying, well, to be fair though, like, it is still more Horizon. It's more God of War. It's more Gran Turismo. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's more of the same, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, God of War was incredible. Horizon was incredible. These were great games, but people won't listen to me say that, right? That's like, MBG doesn't say those things. But no, to me, that's actually true. Like, I loved Horizon. I loved God of War, but I am certainly ready for some new stuff. Final Fantasy 16 to me seems very new because I'm not, I haven't played too many Final Fantasy games at all. So to me, it feels very new. Spider-Man 2, it is more Spider-Man, but at the same time, I feel so far removed from Spider-Man 1. I feel like we've been waiting to see more of Spider-Man 2. But I gotta say, I'm very much looking forward to seeing some brand new PS5 games, some different stuff. If we just keep getting more of the same, I mean, I can enjoy that, but I'm going to always want more than that. I'm going to want more of the same if it works and if it's good. You know what they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm a believer in that, but I'm still always going to want to, bring out some new stuff too. That's why I think Returnal was so refreshing, because Returnal genuinely was something new, something different for PlayStation, and it was great. I loved it. New Soul 9, you're saying... hold on, just get caught up here. New Soul 9, you're saying, I believe your projection of success because you are with PlayStation, even though Microsoft said that they are not focusing on that business model to be successful anymore, is unfair to compare the two. Well, look, man, well, okay, fine. I mean, New Soul 9, if that's true, okay, I can't compare console sales. So, like, if I see that Xbox console sales are in the negatives and PlayStation console sales are in the, like, well into the positive, if the argument is, well, you can't really say whether or not that's good or bad for Xbox, it's not fair because it's not, like, to them, it's, if Microsoft's consoles are in the negative, that doesn't mean they're failing. They could still be succeeding. Well, okay, if Microsoft's measurement of success is Game Pass, if Game Pass is the thing that they're going to turn to and say, well, if Game Pass is doing well, then all is fine. Then my question is, how well is Game Pass doing? Because here's one for you. I don't know exactly how many consoles the Xbox Series X and S have sold. I don't know how many. But I've seen estimates that it's at around 20 million, 22 million, give or take. Something like that. Okay, that's like an estimate of how many Xbox Series X and S consoles have been sold. Okay? Apparently, Game Pass is at 30 million subscribers. So I want you to think about this for just a second. In just 2 years of the Xbox being on the market, the Xbox Series X and S, it managed to get 2/3 of the way to where Game Pass is right now in 2 years. And Game Pass has taken 6 years. 6 years to get to 30 million. The PS5 has taken 2 years to get to 30 million. 31 million, something like that. So I think you're correct. As I said, like, I don't believe that Microsoft views console sales as the be-all, end-all, and their core, like, this is the pinnacle of our success. This is the ultimate determining factor. No, it's clearly more than that. It is Game Pass. But if the Xbox console in just 2 years is 2/3 of the way where Game Pass is, I have to seriously question Well, then how well is Game Pass doing? Because technically, from a sheer numbers point of view, in terms of time versus how, time and numbers, right? Time and numbers. The two most important things in, when discussing this type of stuff. Just based off of that, the Xbox console is doing better than Game Pass. More people are choosing to buy an Xbox console at a more rapid rate than they're choosing to subscribe to Game Pass. Because if Xbox, the Series X and S stays on the course that it's on, it's going to surpass Game Pass subscribers. At least the number of Game Pass subscribers. But it's still going to be well behind PlayStation 5. So, if anything, the argument I'm making doesn't help Sony right now, because Sony's trying real hard to make it seem like Microsoft's going to kick their teeth in. But in reality, Sony's been kicking Microsoft's teeth in. And that's not a secret, in my opinion. I don't see how anybody could see that as a secret. Where do I get those numbers? Well, I want to make it clear, we do not have exact data for Xbox console sales. My numbers could be off. I'll tell you right now, Xbox console sales are not at 30 million. They are not ahead of PlayStation. If they were, Microsoft would be shouting that from the rooftops. I've seen there are estimates, essentially, and they could be off by a couple million, give or take. Xbox could be at 24 million for all we know, 25 million. And if so, it just serves to make my point, helps make my point, I think. But I'm just saying, man, like, it is so obvious by now that the only path to success for Microsoft, the only path to success is brute force. Brute force with the amount of money they can spend. That is the only way Xbox wins. That's the only way they were ever going to win. That is more than obvious now. And I don't say that lightly because, yeah, they could win that way. They could end up kicking Sony's teeth in the long run if they just keep eating up and gobbling up publishers and make Game Pass the pinnacle of, like, this is gaming in the future and this is where everyone's going to be. Yeah, Sony is afraid of that because money can make that happen. Money. But the Xbox console alone won't make that happen. The Xbox ecosystem and what it isn't going to make that happen, at least not what it is right now. Like I said, man, we're going to have to see what Starfield does. We're going to have to see what Starfield does for Microsoft, because that's going to be I've been using the word pinnacle a lot. That's the wrong word to use. That's going to be a vital moment for Game Pass. How many new subscribers Starfield brings to Game Pass will be absolutely vital. At least in my opinion. Josh, you're saying, I better see the Bloomberg headlines murdering Xbox for their pathetic sales the same way they are trying to murder PSVR 2, one of the best / fastest selling VR headsets in history with 300K in a month. It's interesting you should mention that. I have something here. You ready for this? This is coming from Lurian on Twitter, and there is a chart here that shows sales data. These are all the reported and estimated figures of all major VR headsets in their first 40 months on the market. If the 230 to 300,000 estimate for PSVR 2 is true, then PSVR 2 has actually had one of the best launches for a VR headset ever, and the best for a wired headset based on only 1 month. Okay, so let me see. PSVR 2, 270,000 in its first month. Steam Index, 46,000. Month 3 of the Oculus Rift, 145,000. Month 4 of the Steam Index, 149,000. Month 4 of the Oculus Quest 1, 425,000. Yeah, so when you look at stuff like that, you really got to question, is PSVR 2 actually a failure? I don't know, man. It would be at this point. It's hard to say, because it does seem like it's actually tracking. It's tracking. Well, okay, here's the question then. If PSVR 2 is a failure, then that must mean all these other headsets are failures as well, right? I mean, look, I'm looking at the Steam Index. The last sales data for the Steam Index, 4 months, 149,000 units. PSVR 2 already greatly surpassed that, almost pretty much doubled it in its first month. So I guess the Steam Index is a failure. The Oculus Quest 1. The Oculus Quest 2, see, this is where it'll be interesting. The Oculus Quest 2, 1.8 million sold in month 5. I don't think PSVR 2 is going to get to 1.8 million in 5 months. So it'll definitely be below the Oculus Quest 2, in my opinion. But PSVR 1, let's see. PSVR 1 took 8 months to hit 1 million. Sony didn't deem PSVR 1 a failure, so let's see how long it takes PSVR 2 to get to 1 million. Let's see. New Soul 9, you're saying, to answer your question, NBG, yes, I was worried in the Xbox One era. Okay. Yeah, well, it's a fair answer, dude. I think a lot of people were. Rightly so. OG Splinter 08, you're saying, this is what makes you different to other PlayStation fans, NBG. You give flowers when they're due, no matter what platform it is. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I again, like, I don't hide the fact that I prefer PlayStation. I do the opposite of hide that fact. I make it clear, like, I like PlayStation. I prefer PlayStation. And I think PlayStation does a lot of things really well. I think PlayStation does a lot of things significantly better than the competition. I also make it clear that I don't think they're perfect. They make their mistakes. And I don't enjoy calling them out on it. Since I'm a fan of the platform and it's where I like to play and I like to support it, I don't enjoy calling them out. But that's what has to happen at times, you know? Like, I'm not okay with literally everything Sony does. Definitely not. But the same could be said if I was a fan of anything else. You know? It's just the way it is. If you truly enjoy something, in my opinion, like, if you're truly a fan of something and you truly enjoy it, it shouldn't be too difficult at all, in my opinion. It shouldn't be too difficult at all to call out that platform, or if it's not a platform, whatever it may be, to point out the mistakes. MBG, why do you cry when people call you fanboy? Dude, trust me. If I was crying when people called me a fanboy, I wouldn't even be on YouTube. That's what I'm called constantly, bro. Like, that's what I am here on YouTube in the eyes of a lot of people. And I don't mind. Like, it is what it is, man. Like, people are free to determine what they will, you know? Call something what you want. Making sure I'm all caught up here. Let me see. Josh, New Soul 9. Sheik, you're saying, with all respect, this type of stream, King Thrash, J-Tech, J Bari, and all those Twitter trolls, also Forspoken, is great. Please don't, I think you mean to say, please don't become a checklist gamer. Well, Sheik, I don't know. I'll be honest, I'm trying my best to understand your super chat. It sounds like to me you're comparing my stream to, like, I'll be honest, like, I don't watch, no offense to those guys, I don't watch them. I don't really watch much when it comes to other content creators, man. Like, I'm just here giving my own thoughts. You know, like, I think people need to understand that there have been times on YouTube where I've tried to, like, alter how people view me, because it's like, oh, well, you know, there's an expectation. But then I realized that, like, dude, the most important thing is that you are damned if you do and you are damned if you don't, and you will never please everybody. And I think that's something that people in general in life learn at some point, right? Like, you're just not going to please everybody. And once you come to terms with that and you're willing to just speak your mind and say how you feel, you know, if you're going to do that, you got to be willing to be ready for what people might have to say in return, right? How people might react to that. Once you can accept these things, that, you know, it's a lot easier to just do your thing. And that's what I'm doing here, man. Like, I'm I have in the past made it sound like, oh, I'm done talking about Xbox. I'm not going to say that anymore because it's not true. Like, I can say it. I can convince myself in a moment, like, oh, I'll never talk about Xbox again on the channel. No, I will. Absolutely, I will. Talk about, I mean, I talk about PlayStation a lot more on this channel than I talk about Xbox. Like, a lot more, right? I think there are some people that just tune into my long form streams, people that tune into 3-4 hour streams. And I do talk about Xbox quite a bit on my streams. But a lot of people, I think, don't pay attention to the fact that, have you watched like almost all of my regular videos and content? Like, it's pretty much, you know, all PlayStation. People are going to roast MBG again with clips from this stream. Dude, it's nothing new, man. That shit's been going on for years. It's just part of the cycle, bro. It's part of the cycle. And it is what it is. You know, people are free to, like I said, hey, it's like I said, if you're going to be, like, if a person like myself is going to be willing to come out here, turn on my microphone, turn on my camera, talk to the camera, and give my thoughts and opinions, people are going to have opinions on it. People are going to react. You know? So it is what it is, dude. But if people want to clip me for saying I think Redfall looks bad, I think the gameplay looks really abysmal and flat. Okay, go ahead, go ahead, I guess. Make your clips. Top Shot, you're saying Microsoft doesn't market their console. It's not in Microsoft's best interest to sell more consoles than Sony if they want to buy more publishers. Definitely, yes. That is true, Top Shot. Microsoft can't really make the console the center focal point ever again, at least, or the priority, I should say. That's the best way to phrase it, I think. Microsoft can't prioritize the console anymore because they're going bigger than that now. People might not know this, but Microsoft is on their way to becoming a third-party publisher. Like, I don't know if people know that. Microsoft is on their way to becoming a third-party publisher. At least based off of how they're handling Activision Blizzard right now. I mean, I don't know if people see that or not, but as the console, that's another thing, is like, as the consoles continue to struggle to sell, believe it or not, Microsoft is very much incentivized. Like, I don't think people realize that Microsoft now, like, they're going to have Bethesda and they're going to have presumably Activision Blizzard as well. I don't think people realize, like, do you know how successful Microsoft would be as a third-party publisher? I mean, a lot of their games are already multi-platform. The only thing that seems to stop Microsoft from becoming a third-party publisher is they still seem to have a hope, and maybe they're right to have this hope, that they will one day be able to get Game Pass onto PlayStation, onto Nintendo. But I think it's that combined with the fact that it's so funny to think, isn't it, that like the very thing that something like Game Pass needs to grow and to thrive and become successful and profitable, the very thing that Game Pass needs is the same thing that consoles have always needed: exclusive content. Exclusive content that's not available on the competitor's platform. It's crazy. It's not crazy, actually, but the way some people talk about exclusives, you would think it was crazy. They're eventually going to become a service provider. I mean, they pretty much are. They pretty much are. I guess what I'm wondering is what I think. This is a theory of mine, and we'll see if it turns out to be true one day. I think when Microsoft hits a certain number of Game Pass subscribers, I don't know what number it would have to be. It would have to be a large number, maybe like 80 million, 100 million, just like a really large number that makes them like the number one gaming subscription service, like by far in a way. I have this theory that they're eventually, once they achieve that number, going to start putting more and more of their games on not the competing subscription services, but on the competing platforms. Like right now, I don't think Microsoft would feel the need to make Starfield and Redfall exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem if they had 80 million subscribers. I don't think that they would do that. I think there would be full-blown PS5 versions, and I don't know if these games could run on Switch. It seems like these games could not run on Switch, but I think there would be full-blown PS5 versions because I don't know, man. Like when Microsoft hits that number, if Microsoft did hit that number, it would make it clear that, like, dude, people are subscribing for the deal more so than even just the content itself. Like, obviously it's for the content, but it's like, you don't, if you sell this game on other platforms, it might even be that way now. I don't know, man. It might even be that way now. Let me see, Top Shot, you're saying Google and Apple makes more money from gaming than Sony, and they don't make any games. Microsoft is chasing the same residual income from gaming. That's so disturbing to think about. Is that true? I don't think that's true, man. Top Shot, I don't think that's true. Let's see. What gaming company? No, that's not true, dude. I'm looking right now. Top public companies by game revenues. Number 1, Tencent. Number 2, Sony. Number 3, Apple. Number 4, Microsoft. Number 5, NetEase. Although, yeah, how is Apple? So Apple is really high up. They're number 3. Microsoft is chasing. I think, you know what I think is worth pointing out? Profit, not revenue. Well, it's worth noting that the bulk of that money is made clearly, with Apple through like mobile gaming and stuff. It has to be, right? That's where the bulk of their, the Apple Arcade. I think Microsoft is just to be honest, Microsoft is trying to do something that hasn't been achieved by anyone yet. That's what Microsoft is trying to achieve, something with Game Pass that it hasn't happened yet. They want to be the first ones. We'll see if they do it. Aaron Yogurt, you're saying best deal in gaming, baby. I mean, I guess so, right? Burst, you're saying Redfall looks like Left 4 Dead with vampires. I disagree. And the reason being is because I think Left 4 Dead looks better than Redfall. And when I see Redfall, I don't see... the thing that made Left 4 Dead so good as a game is it did a lot of things in unique ways that I don't think people like... I'll admit, I took Left 4 Dead for advantage. Like, I did not realize just how nuanced that game was, the first and the second game, with like the little things, the little touches, the little attention to detail when it comes to the gameplay elements, right? Where just like how perfectly the hunter works, where you hear him in the distance, and it changes how you're going to play. But it also changes how your teammates are going to play. It changes how everybody's going to react. And the thing about a hunter is, at least in Left 4 Dead, it's like it's a formidable enemy with amazing AI, where it's like, you better watch your ass because this thing is going to pounce somebody. I haven't seen anything like that in Redfall. All I've seen in Redfall are enemies that just stand there, and if they're not just standing there, they're moving slow as hell, trying to just come at you and hit you with something. This is the Zombie Fanatic. I'm going to get to your super chat in a second. I just want to say this is what Back 4 Blood got wrong. Back 4 Blood thought that if we just have a bunch of hordes of enemies and just a couple basic, like, more powerful enemies, then we're basically making Left 4 Dead. Actually, no, you're not. Back 4 Blood was missing pretty much every nuanced gameplay mechanic and detail that was very well thought out in Left 4 Dead. It was missing like all of it. And I mean, to be honest, what makes me kind of raise my eyebrow at Redfall a little bit is I don't know what Redfall has going for it. It doesn't have hordes. I guess they do have like special enemies and bosses, but nothing I've seen so far looks very promising. I think one of the things that Redfall has going for it is there's abilities and there's powers, but the AI looks so poor that it's like, how much is that going to matter? Man, why won't Valve just make Left 4 Dead 3? You know, I feel like the more I talk about games like Redfall and Back 4 Blood and whatnot, it makes me just yearn for Left 4 Dead 3. You know, like just make Left 4 Dead 3. Come on. The Zombie Fanatic, you're saying this might be an unpopular opinion, but Microsoft are becoming too big, in my opinion, just like Sony were, becoming too arrogant in the PS3 era. Well, I feel like Microsoft isn't. The thing that bothers me about Microsoft these days, it's not that they're arrogant. It's that they're arrogant in a different way. Like Sony during the PS3 era was arrogant in a really outward way, like an obvious way, and a very like not cool way where it's like, we're the best and nothing can touch us and we know this, and so you should get a second job to buy a PS3. It's like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? You know, like don't ever say that. Microsoft, their arrogance at this point stems from it comes in the form of, well, okay, we can't win the traditional way, but that's because we don't have to win the traditional way. Microsoft has like the rich person arrogance. That's what Microsoft has. Like, and it's because that's what they are. Like Microsoft has an unbelievable amount of money that no one can match, or at least their main competition in Sony can't match, and they know that. And so I don't know, man. They're arrogant in that sense that, yeah, we'll buy Activision Blizzard and we'll buy Bethesda, and you won't because you can't. And everybody will celebrate it. People will thank us for buying publishers. And it's like, well, it's okay, I guess. I guess that's where we're headed. Am I ready for Spider-Man 2 to make Xbox games look a generation behind? Dude, the only game that's going to come out this year from Microsoft that's going to look visually good, like, I mean, good as in impressive, is Forza, if it doesn't get delayed. Their racing game. Redfall doesn't look very good visually. I appreciate the art style of Redfall. Like, I don't mind games that try to go for like different art styles and striking art styles, but it doesn't look that impressive. It looks okay. Starfield also does not look very good. Starfield does not look visually impressive. It looked like, I don't know that people are going to care. I don't think that people are going to be too hard on Bethesda because it's more about the scope and the scale of the game. How big is Starfield? You know, Starfield's not going to look as visually good as Spider-Man 2 because Spider-Man 2 is a much more focused game. The question I have about Starfield is this game going to hit 60 FPS? Is there going to be a 60 FPS performance mode on the Xbox Series X? That's what I want to know about Starfield. Because, man, it's going to be a bad day for Xbox fans, Xbox console owners, if they don't have a 60 FPS mode for Starfield. That's going to be a bad day. On PC, sure, yeah. But I feel like Starfield has a little bit more working against it than, well, I don't know. We'll see just how much Bethesda's reputation carries this game, because the game's going to be buggy. And potentially on Xbox, it might not it might not have a 60 FPS mode. If this game launches in a buggy state without a 60 FPS mode on console, dude, I can already hear it a mile away. Well, it's on Game Pass. It's on Game Pass. Like, dude, we got at some point that, as I said, that has to stop being the bar, man. Game Pass cannot be, it can't continue to be the shield. It can't. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens with. I'm much more interested in watching what happens with Starfield than Redfall. Like, to me, Redfall is something for Microsoft to put out. Rambling, you're saying what shield? Well, I mean, look, I feel like there are people who are fair, and if Microsoft releases a game through Game Pass and it's not very good, there are people who will call it out and be like, dude, doesn't matter if I only paid $10, like the game's not really good or it's not high enough quality, it has issues. But there have been and there will continue to be people who use that as a defense. Well, it's like, who cares if it's buggy, if it's a buggy mess? Who cares if it's not very good? So in Game Pass, you only have to pay $10. It's like you're literally advocating for lower quality. Whiskey Gaming, member for 26 months. Thank you, man. Saying it would be wild if Sony and Google or Amazon struck a partnership somehow where Sony still operates independently but gets that deep war chest. That would be, I don't know the chances of that. I don't know how possible that could be, or how possible that is, or how likely that is. But that would be fascinating. That would be fascinating. Know what else was buggy? The Last of Us on PC. Hell yeah, it was. What a dumpster fire, dude. Do you know what I gotta say? Like, seeing Naughty Dog come out and just every day, we got new updates for the PC. Like, why? What is wrong with you? Why did you release this? Like, you guys clearly don't know what you're doing. It's very sad. Yes, the cyberpunk karma, absolutely. I do not feel the least bit sorry for Sony or Naughty Dog. To me, this is, people need to be shitting on them for this. They do. And anybody who's defending it is out of their goddamn mind. I think it's absolutely absurd to see Naughty Dog coming out and being like, we're working with our partners, Iron Galaxy. Like, dude, it's been weeks, man. Like, what are you fucking talking about? You guys screwed up to a degree in which I never thought you would. It doesn't mean that, like, Naughty Dog as a studio is done. No, but they need to pay for this, man. I'm sorry, they do. Like, I understand, like, when people want to defend certain things regarding PlayStation, and there are some things that people run with that it's like, it's too much. You guys are being unfair. It's ridiculous. You're taking it too far. With The Last of Us PC, oh my God, dude. I can't believe it. I can't like I genuinely these days have been trying to ignore it because I just can't believe they actually, like, I kind of thought at first, and I'm not going to go on a long tangent here, but I kind of thought at first with the reports that were coming out and the bugs that people were showing, I thought, maybe it's not that bad. Like, maybe it just needs a patch and all this will go away. And they messed up something initially. But it has become clear that this is a completely broken, shattered product, just like Cyberpunk was. And Sony had no problem saying, yeah, release that shit. Valve should remove it from their store, is what they should. Let it come back Sony's way. Sony wanted to remove Cyberpunk back in December, I think, of 2020, and put on some kind of show making it seem like we are better than that. We would never do such a thing. Come on, we all remember that energy. I want to see Valve come out and say, get this shit off our store. Bring it back when it's fixed. Shaking my damn head, man. But to be fair though, like, what's strange to me about it is the inconsistency. Like, Sony did have some really good ports. Like, everybody was praising the Spider-Man PC ports and God of War. And then this is why I think this is Naughty Dog's fault, because even the Uncharted PC port was fine, right? Like the Uncharted PC port, which was also handled by Iron Galaxy with Naughty Dog, that was fine. That tells me Naughty Dog, I don't know. I get the feeling Naughty Dog was like, we're going to handle this one mostly ourselves. Let's do it, team. And they just were not ready for what was about to happen. We're like, we don't know what we're doing. We're so used to developing for console architecture. We're so used to developing for like specific bespoke hardware. This is like brand new territory, uncharted territory, if you will. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. I'll tell you what. Dude, I'm telling you. If Sony releases another broken PC port, I'm gonna go berserk on them. I'm gonna go absolutely berserk on them, because at least I can say, and this is not defending it. I'm not defending it, but I'm just saying, like, this is the first time we're seeing Sony have a like disastrous PC launch. Okay, they haven't released anything on PC that was anywhere near this bad. So I'm hoping, okay, Sony, you're really dumb for doing this, but maybe you can learn from it. Never rush out another PC port again. Take the time needed, delay it as long as you have to. And if they do it again, I'm going to have some words, and it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Thank you, UK Gamer, for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate that. Yeah, guys, again, please consider gift. So I want to say this. A lot of people donate super chats, which I'm extremely grateful for. Okay, a lot of you guys donate super chats to support the channel directly, which means the world to me here. Okay, if you're able to, consider taking whatever that super chat would be and folding it over into donating some channel memberships. That would be fantastic. I'm trying to grow my memberships, trying to grow the channel members. I'm gonna have hopefully. If anything changes, I'll let you know. But I'm hoping to add a couple things. So if you feel so inclined to do that, please consider it. Something else we have to talk about over the course of the stream, not just Redfall. Okay, I think I've made it clear how I feel about Redfall. I want to talk about Ghostwire Tokyo, which is a game I played and really enjoyed. Ghostwire Tokyo, the Xbox review from Windows Central, okay? They say here, pros, interesting modern fantasy setting with strong supernatural twists, satisfying combat with spectacular effects, a detailed and atmospheric world filled with folklore. So those are the pros. Thank you, Aaron Yogurt. There we go. Maybe we'll get a train going. So guys, here's another call to action. Just because, again, I'm emphasizing it. You're going to hear me emphasizing it a lot more going forward, but I definitely have to emphasize it now because I have never said it because I didn't know about it. If you click in the chat, if you click on Aaron Yogurt's membership gift, it'll say buy gift memberships, or it will ask you to enable gift memberships, okay? Gifted memberships. That's an important thing I just want to stress to everybody. You do have to enable it, okay? People can't just gift you a membership if you don't have it enabled. So anytime you see somebody gift a membership and you see it up top in green, click on it and it will give you the ability to turn on the option to receive a gifted membership, okay? So consider doing that. Thank you, Aaron Yogurt. Here are the cons for Ghostwire Tokyo. Repetitious side quests feel tired almost immediately. Central quality of life gameplay. Okay, hold on. I don't agree with that. I platinum Ghostwire Tokyo, and they had some actually pretty cool side quests with some interesting characters and dialogue. Like, I actually really enjoyed the side quest. So I wholeheartedly disagree with that con. I don't know why that's a con. That's really weird. If they're talking about like the side content, a lot of the side content was extremely repetitious. But I don't agree with that at all. All right. Let me see. Essential quality of life gameplay improvements are locked behind drab XP grinding. Pushing Polygons, thank you, buddy. Welcome to Greatness Awaits. Thank you for becoming a channel member, dude. Really appreciate that. Thank you. And then here's the one that really got me, though. Abysmal performance on Xbox, even in performance mode. I got to find the part where they talk about the performance, okay? I think it's towards the bottom here. So, the most egregious issue plaguing Ghostwire Tokyo, however, is the game's performance. On Xbox Series X, the game's frame rate is still all over the place. Sometimes you'll turn a corner and see performance inexplicably dip from 60 frames down to 30 or lower. Jesus, that's horrible. Although it seems to be worse in certain areas and due to certain effects like the game's grainy rain effects, and do forget quality mode, since it introduces a bewildering slow motion input delay that makes the game thoroughly unplayable. It also oddly hitches as you're moving around the city ever so slightly, creating an uncanny judder that is irritating once you've noticed it. The mission-oriented Spider's Thread expansion doesn't suffer from the same performance issues and judder I've noticed, which suggests to me that the issues stem from streaming the game's open world. Alas, hopefully it's not unfixable. Oh my God, did he use the word? He used the word, guys. This is being reported by Jez Corden. He used the word streaming. Apparently, the Xbox Series X is having trouble streaming Ghostwire Tokyo's open world. Now, let me tell you, I played Ghostwire Tokyo. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was incredible. It wasn't amazing. There are definitely aspects of Ghostwire Tokyo that are pretty mid. But I will admit, Ghostwire Tokyo has a charm to it. Ghostwire Tokyo has a charm to it that I really appreciated. But let me tell you, I platinumed this game on PlayStation and I had no issues. I had no issues. You're saying, I think you're taking it out of context. I'm not. I literally read the entire paragraph in the actual review. I'm not taking anything out of context. That's what he said. He said, I'll read it again. He said the expansion of the game, which is a smaller, more contained expansion, doesn't suffer from the same performance issues that I've noticed, which suggests to me that the issues stem from streaming the game's open world. Dude, this is now an Xbox first-party studio. You're saying Ghostwire was mid AF? Don't get me wrong. I understand why a lot of people wouldn't like Ghostwire. Like, I don't feel the need to defend it because it's like, yeah, I could see why a lot of people were like, that was not a great game. But again, to me, there's something about the world, the characters. The combat was way too repetitive, I agree. But the world, the characters, I don't know, it had a certain charm to it. It's a good game. But to me, this was just kind of wild to be reading, right? Like, it's... The game is more optimized for the PS5. This is a first-party Xbox studio. This is what... I think this was done purposely. Because, dude, Sony is out here saying to Microsoft, you're going to make a worse version of Call of Duty for PlayStation. Microsoft's out here, but we made a better version of Ghostwire Tokyo for your platform. It runs better than the Xbox version. It's 40 chess move right there. 40 chess move for Microsoft. But really though, it's like, that's crazy to me. What's crazy to me is how he says it drops from 60 frames per second to below 30, like abruptly. By the way, I'm kidding about that. That was sarcasm. I hope you guys detected that. That's the thing that gets me though. It's like the performance isn't just a little bit bad. He's saying like there are times where it just drops from 60 frames to below 30. All right, I think I got disconnected for like 20 seconds, 10 or 20 seconds there. What would cause it? What would cause something like that? Stream just drops. Man, my stream just went from 60 to 0. It just went from 60 to 0. Phil watching, yeah. That's funny, bro. No, that happens occasionally. Like my OBS just disconnects. That's the perfect time too, though, right? Like the perfect time for my stream to just drop out of nowhere when talking about frame rate. Well, you know what? I have something here that I want to talk about as well. And just so I'm clear, is the stream okay now? I think it's okay. On my end, it says it's fine. I have an article here. Check this out. I gotta find what I did with it. Actually, I lost it. I have this article here from Gaming Bolt, and the title says, the PlayStation 5's faster SSD will help exclusives, but multi-platform games will likely use Xbox Series X as a baseline. So essentially what this developer's saying, I just feel like I have to stress that because people think that like it's me saying that. I'm not saying that. What he's basically saying is that the PS5 speed will be held back by the Xbox. That's essentially what he's saying. So it says here 2.5 years into the current gen consoles, we're finally beginning to get to a point where developers are moving past cross-gen games, which of course means it hopefully won't be too long before we see games that properly take advantage of the more powerful hardware that the new consoles afford them. Of course, one of the biggest selling points for both the PS5 and the Series X has been their SSDs, though with the former boasting a raw bandwidth of 5.5 gigabytes per second and the latter standing at 2.4 gigabytes per second. How will the two face against each other? According to Ricardo Castirio, I don't know if I'm saying his last name correctly. I'm probably butchering it, but he's the co-owner and producer of Camel 101, the studio behind the upcoming first-person horror game Beneath. Though the difference between the speeds of the two consoles might not count for much when it comes to multi-platform games, for games that will be exclusive to the PS5, it will be a much bigger boost, allowing for quicker asynchronous level loading and assets, and by extension, higher quality textures. And that's what's funny as shit to talk about right now, because it's like, dude, I am literally reading an article, not an article, a review from Windows Central Jez Corden, where he suspects that the poor performance of Ghostwire Tokyo is because the Series X is having trouble streaming the open world. Now, he is speculating that. We'll have to wait to see if we get confirmation of that. But then we go to this developer, and he literally is saying that the Xbox Series X is going to have to be a baseline for multi-platform games due to the slower SSD bandwidth. So this is the exact quote. Dude, you're saying so in indie dev. Dude, we've been hearing this from a lot more than just indie devs for years now. Quote, with a raw bandwidth of 5.5 gigabytes per second and SSDs, loading and unloading assets will be faster, resulting in quicker asynchronous level loading and assets. This is what he said. Background loading of parts of levels will go unnoticed by players, and keeping VRAM usage low will enable faster games. I don't believe there will be a significant difference, as most devs will likely use the baseline 2.4 gigabytes per second when developing for multiple platforms. However, the situation may be different for exclusive titles where the platform specifications can be pushed to the limit. For instance, higher quality textures may be used because of the streaming time. The streaming time will be a lot lower. Okay, so you know what I find most interesting about this? You know what I find most interesting about what this developer's saying? Okay. What I find most interesting is the fact that he is immediately talking about the speed, the SSDs, right? Notice how he didn't say a word about the GPUs or the feature set on the GPUs. He literally just went right for the SSDs. This tells me, dude, we're approaching a 2.5 year mark. You're saying check his credentials? Well, I mean, he's a developer. I'm not saying developers can't be wrong. They can be, but I'm just saying, man, like, I'm going to listen to a developer who's working with the hardware and they're making games. I'm going to listen to them. And to be fair, the Xbox has gotten praise as well. Like, dude, there was a developer who literally praised the Xbox's GPU and the fact that it's more powerful and has more features. But he then went on to say that the chances of developers taking advantage of those features and taking advantage of that GPU probably not going to happen. But that's the thing. That's the thing, though, is he's saying the same thing about the PS5 now. So it's like it's no different than what we've been talking about. We're going to see the biggest difference in PS5 exclusives. But I just find it interesting and fascinating that as we are about 2.5 years into this generation, Sony made a bet on speed, on SSD, on the SSD and the SSD bandwidth and the IO throughput. And this is what Mark Cerny clearly, when he did his long talk, he made it clear, like, in his opinion, after talking to developers, he believes that this is what they're really going to flock to. Like, this is what's going to be most important to them for their game development in the future and going forward. Microsoft went the traditional route. They went the traditional route by just saying, look, like, and I don't fault them for this because it's good marketing. We're just going to make the most powerful console. Like, we're going to have the biggest GPU. We're going to have the most amount of teraflops. And just like in terms of sheer like brute power, brute force, we're going to be the best. And it is the best in terms of raw power. But I don't know. I think that maybe Microsoft, I don't want to say that they bet on the wrong horse, because people are, we're still going to see the Xbox games are going to run okay and whatnot. They're going to run fine. I just think that I'm trying to say, like, developers are not going to just say, well, we're going to make our game tailored to the PS5's SSD and ignore the Xbox. They're not going to do that. But it does just make me wonder, like, let's think about the next generation, right? It does make me wonder, like, with the PS6 and the Xbox Series X2, whatever the hell it's going to be called, will Microsoft decide to will Microsoft decide to say, you know what, we're going to, like, obviously the GPU is going to be more powerful, CPU, memory, the whole thing, but are they going to maybe take a page out of Sony's book and be like, let's like architect, when we are coming up with the next architecture for the next gen Xbox console, maybe we should kind of do what Sony did and center it around the speed of the console, the throughput, the bandwidth, streaming in of assets. I mean, it's just interesting to me that we are still hearing this. And I wanted to talk about these two topics to get in tandem, because it's like Ghostwire Tokyo ran perfectly fine on the PS5, dude. It ran perfectly fine on the PS5, and now it's struggling on the Series X. And it's interesting because the developers, when they were making Ghostwire Tokyo, I think originally they weren't making an Xbox version. Maybe they were, but they clearly got to kind of take advantage of the PS5 speed and the bandwidth. And then on top of that, at the same time, yes, it is an indie developer, but it's a developer nonetheless, basically saying, like, yeah, the biggest difference here is the SSD speed, and exclusive Sony games are going to be able to take full advantage of that, but most games are going to have to adhere to that 2 point. Like, I'm just saying, he didn't say that future games are going to have to scale down to Sony's lower GPU compute count, right? Like, that's not what he said. He said developers are going to have to scale down to the Series X's bandwidth, basically. And I think, I don't know, man, like that tells me, you said that was streaming and that the game's not downloaded. Well, no, I'm not talking about literally, like, I'm not talking about like cloud streaming or anything like that. I'm talking about like asset streaming. Like how the console's going to process all this stuff and put it on screen for you. I don't know, man. I know like people make fun of the PS5's SSD and the marketing behind it and stuff, but to me, this is I think this is potentially revealing. I think Mark Cerny may have bet on the right horse by basically coming out and saying, look, we believe future game engines, upcoming game engines, game development in the next 5 to 10 years, it's really going to be focused on speed and asset streaming and bandwidth and just making sure that things can load instantaneously rather than just brute force their way on screen. And I don't know. It's interesting to me. You're saying it is fast, but only because they can optimize the game to that specific SSD. PC SSD is still faster. Gen 5 is redundant. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that at this point, PC is probably, at least in terms of SSD speed, yeah, probably ahead. And maybe, but that's the thing though. Like, maybe this is why Sony. I remember when the PS5 first came out, people were legitimately puzzled as to why Sony went so extreme with the SSD. Like, they're like, why did they go all in with the SSD? And I remember at the time, tech people, they were saying that it's because in the coming years, like, that's where SSD speeds are going to get to. And Sony was trying to future-proof it, the PS5 essentially. And it seems like they may have, to a certain degree, achieved that. Himanshu Udav, you're saying, MBG, I tried Cyberpunk Ray Tracing Overdrive. It melts even a 4090 on native 4K. When do you think tech will reach consoles? Will even next gen be able to do it? Probably not, dude. I mean, I don't know. I'm not the best person to ask these types of questions, but like, what I anticipate that, like, with the PlayStation 6, for example, like the next gen consoles, I think that they're going to have much better ray tracing at higher resolutions and higher frame rates, but I still think there are going to have to be compromises. For sure. Like, I don't think we're going to get like the best ray tracing at native 4K at a perfect 60 FPS. I think that's the dream, but I still think we're quite a ways from that. But I could be wrong. I don't know, man. Again, we have to keep in mind that Mark Cerny is going to be the one architecting. He is architecting. Is that a word? Am I saying that right? He is coming up with the architecture of the PlayStation 6 as we speak. So, in the same way that when we first saw the PS5 and we see what games like Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man Remastered or Miles Morales, like what they're doing, Demon's Souls, right? We're seeing like, holy crap, like, look at these games. Dude, if you go back and play some of these PS5 exclusives, they still look significantly better than most multi-platform games. Like, significantly better. And so if you consider that's what we got in like 2020 and 2021 with some of these games that were just exclusive to the PS5, when I think about the PlayStation 6 and Mark Cerny's the one creating that console, I have no doubt that we're gonna see some things that I think are gonna blow people's minds for sure. Some PlayStation 6 exclusives. I mean, imagine if there was a rumor that Naughty Dog is working on The Last of Us Part 3 and they want to make a PlayStation 6 version. Like, the rumor made it sound like the game is going to come out before the PlayStation 6, but they want to have like a native PlayStation 6 version ready to go. Like, imagine that. Like, imagine what that's going to look like. Imagine The Last of Us 3 from Naughty Dog on a PlayStation 6. That's gonna be something that could potentially be a new industry benchmark. I have no doubt about that. And that would be insane. So I don't doubt Mark Cerny. I don't doubt PlayStation Studios. And I just think it's comical. It is comical to me. But also kind of ironic. It's ironic and comical to me that, when we first heard about the PlayStation 5 specifications and the Xbox Series X specifications, we had to be hammered week in and week out about how much weaker the PS5 was, how much it was going to struggle, how much better the Xbox was. And people still go on and on about it. Like, dude, the Xbox, look at the specs, look at what's in this console. The developers aren't taking advantage of it. Like, dude, let me ask you, what's more important at the end of the day? Having the best specifications for like the consumer, as in like, we have the most powerful console, we have the best specifications on paper. Is that ultimately going to be more important than having the best specifications for developers to take advantage of? I'm telling you, this is the difference we are seeing, we have seen, and we will continue to see. Sony bet on making a console where the specifications were focused more on the needs of the developer and not the enthusiast, not the consumer. And they did pay for that. I want to make it known, like, Sony did pay for that. Sony got shit on, basically, when they were like, the PS5 is like 10 teraflops, or it's like 9 teraflops overclocked. It brings it to 10. They got shit on for it. I remember, like, dude, people were going nuts because Microsoft had the marketing. They were like 12 T-flops, baby. But it just goes to show that that's the difference between, marketing and doing, and to me, this is one of the biggest problems that Microsoft has been suffering from for a long time, where Microsoft is focused so much on the consumer, almost to a detriment. Some people might think that sounds crazy, but listen to what I just said. Like, Microsoft was so focused on the fan base being able to latch on to the 12 teraflop narrative than they were on how is this going to impact game development? Are developers really going to take advantage of this? Is this really what developers are asking for? The answer is no. But this is what the Xbox fan base expects. And Phil Spencer wants to make sure that the Xbox fan base can flex that power narrative. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy how it's worked out. And again, I do want to say this could change. Maybe by 2025, 2026. But I'll tell you right now, if we start to see, I'll tell you, if the Xbox Series X isn't even going to have a chance, even if it's like, oh, developers just need to get familiar with it. Dude, even if that's true and they have to start really, just converting completely to current gen only games, the PS5 Pro is going to be out. And the PS5 Pro is obviously going to stomp the Series X. And we'll have to see what Microsoft does with their next gen Xbox. But I don't know, man. Fabrice, you're saying Xbox and Windows have the same architecture. Yeah, I remember that conversation as well. Apparently, one of the reasons why Microsoft was at least hesitant to, at least the reason why they were hesitant to make the console as custom as Sony's is because of that, is because they kind of wanted a unified, like, if you're developing for Xbox, you're developing for PC and Windows as well. And I get that. For Microsoft, that does make sense. It does. Josh, you're saying, which baller here is sending MBG the PSVR 2 funds? Dude, I'm telling you, man, gift memberships, bro. Gift memberships. That's the thing on YouTube now. I'm telling you. Memberships and gifting them, that's the new thing for streaming on YouTube. Super chats are incredibly important as well, but Space D, you're saying the most important thing is being the de facto console and making devs use your tech over the competition. PlayStation brand has that power. Well, I appreciate that, Space D. Yes, it's actually very similar to Twitch subs. But yeah, Space D, look, man, the thing I'm interested in seeing is what Microsoft might... So Microsoft is definitely doing a mid-gen refresh console. If Sony's doing a PS5 Pro, then there's obviously Microsoft is doing a mid-gen refresh as well. And what I'm going to be interested in seeing, I feel like for Sony, it's obvious that Sony's going to, more like I'm assuming maybe a bigger GPU, more compute units, improvements to the CPU, the memory possibly, but I don't know if Sony's going to make big improvements to the SSD and the SSD speed, because they're already they're already pretty much there. I don't think that they need to do much. And that's where I'm curious, like, is Microsoft going to decide to up the SSD speed of the Series X? But even if they do, the problem with that is the 2.4 gigabyte SSD is going to be the baseline, already due to the Series X. So I don't know. We'll have to see what they end up doing. But I agree, Space D. Fabrice, you're saying, look at the video on L and at least today bits. I don't see a big difference on Ghostwire Tokyo. Really, man, look before talking. Sometimes journalists are wrong. Maybe you're right about that. I will look into that, actually, because that would be surprising to me. Truthfully, it would be surprising to me if an Xbox journalist somehow misreported a game running extremely poorly on their preferred console and it didn't. That would be weird. That would be very strange. Let me see. Bits. Okay, so I have it here. I'm gonna turn the sound off, but I'm just checking it out real quick. I'm watching it now. PS5 has better load time. Let me see where they start doing frame rate. Quality mode. Let's see. I'm looking at the performance mode now. Well, there are definitely dips in the Series X, but from what I'm seeing in front of me, they're not down to like 30 FPS or anything like that. But then again, they are indoors right now. Do they have any outside frame rate? Let's see. Okay, this looks like. Yeah, you know what? I am wondering if he's wrong about this, which would be weird because it seems to be holding a relatively consistent between 55 and 60. Well, I wonder if he got like a I don't know, is he playing a version that needs to be updated or something? I don't know. But yeah, you are right, sometimes they do get it wrong. Can't believe this chat baited me on the Blue Box Game Studio. Yeah. Crazy times, bro. Crazy times. But yeah, man, that's pretty much. I'm gonna hang out with the chat for a little bit longer before I go. But this is pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. Look, I get it. There are people out there, they're like, don't talk about Xbox anymore. You know, you're a PlayStation centric YouTuber. Listen, going forward, if one of two things is gonna happen, guys. One of two things is gonna happen. I'm either going to one day wake up and just actually decide I have zero desire to ever talk about Xbox again. Or I'm just going to continue to talk about Xbox. Now, the way it's been on the channel is regardless of anything I say, I still continue to talk about Xbox. And that's probably going to continue to happen. Like, if I had to guess, realistically, that's probably going to continue to happen. And so, I'm just saying this because it's like, look, not all of my content is going to be about Xbox. Not all of my content is about Xbox. If if you're subscribed because I just want somebody who talks about PlayStation, a pretty safe bet most of the time, like 90% of the time, are my news videos. My news videos are 90% of the time just mostly PlayStation. There are times where we do have to talk about Xbox, for example, like if there's an update with the Activision thing, or if Sony is calling Xbox inferior in their patents, stuff like that, I might have to talk about Xbox. But I do, I just hope people understand that, yes, Jay, I am going to do what I want on my channel. And I don't mean that in a rude way. I just mean that as in, like, there are going to be things that I'm feeling and other things that I'm not feeling. There are going to be things that I feel inclined to talk about and discuss. There are going to be other things I don't. And I guess my whole thing is, like, there's going to be many different topics we discuss over the course of this channel's lifetime. And so you might just have to pick and choose. If you come across a title that says Redfall gameplay is getting torn apart and you think, why is this PlayStation dude talking about Redfall? Then just don't click the video. Don't click the stream. It's clearly not something that you're going to be that interested in. But if you see a headline that says, hey, new Spider-Man 2 trailer reaction, whatever it might be, there you go. You might want to be more interested in that. I'm not going to say it's what it's going to be, because it's what it is already. It's what it's been. And so I appreciate, you guys showing up, hanging out with me. I will say, to end this entire conversation, I'm going to be interested to see how Redfall reviews and how how it does. I mean, Forspoken got a 64 on Metacritic, and it got utterly torn to shreds by Xbox fanboys. Okay, Forspoken got just absolutely obliterated. So we'll see where Redfall lands. I mean, it would be quite unfortunate if Redfall landed at like a 65 or 68 or the coveted 69. That would be quite unfortunate. And yeah, like I am going to talk about that. If Redfall flops, I'm going to let people know, yo, Redfall flopped. Just like if Starfield does incredible, I'm going to let people know, yo, Starfield's blowing up. Starfield's bringing Xbox to a new level. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So, I will say though, I will say, even with all of this talk, there actually is one other thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm probably going to talk more about this on the upcoming podcast. I did see that apparently it leaked out how long Xbox's upcoming showcase is going to be. Apparently, it's going to be 2 hours, an hour and a half dedicated to just showing off like games, and then the last half hour is basically going to be dedicated to showing off Starfield. Now, I will say, like, dude, we've been talking a lot about PlayStation doing their showcase. Sony better bring it. Sony better absolutely bring the fucking heat, because I will tell you, I understand that Sony doesn't revolve around me, obviously, but they've gone way too long without doing a show. And I will tell you right now, Sony needs to have a fucking killer showcase. If Sony comes out here in June and they're like, tune in for a 35 to 40 minute showcase, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed, because it's like, dude, your competition is doing a 2-hour show. A 2-hour show. And you guys have went a year and a half without a show. I don't want to hear 40 minutes. Yeah, imagine it's 20 minutes. Imagine it's not even a showcase. It's just a state of play. Oh, yeah, that'll be the day MBG truly loses it. Saying, remember, the length of a show doesn't mean it's good. That's true. I know. I don't want to equate, like, because for all we know, that 2 hours from Xbox could be abysmal, right? Just like if Sony did a 2-hour show, if only like 3 parts of it were exciting, then I don't want that. But I guess I'm just saying, like, for Sony in particular, like, they've been sitting on stuff for a long time. Like, they haven't really revealed a ton of new stuff in a while at one time. They've been dispersing things throughout the past year and a half, a third-party game here, third-party exclusive there. And that's fine, but it really has gotten to a point where it's like, Sony, I know Sony knows how to put on a good show. I just hope that they understand that the expectations for them are going to be very high since they've taken a year off. And that's all it comes down to. Microsoft didn't take a year off. I mean, I can't speak to how good their show was last year, but they put on a show. Sony didn't. So I just think because Sony took a year and a half off, like, yeah, the expectations are going to be a lot higher. And I hope that they deliver. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this live stream. Took a look at Redfall, talked a little bit about Ghostwire, talked a little bit about what a developer's saying about the PS5 and the Series X. Had a pretty good time. And so if you could do me a favor on your way out, just hit that like button for me. Consider subscribing if you happen to be new and watching the stream. And I also just want to stress one last time, if you want to become a channel member, please consider doing so. If you want to donate some channel memberships, or not donate, but gift some channel memberships during any of the streams I do, consider doing that. For those of you who super chat, thank you guys so much. I am fan funded here, so I really appreciate the continued support through the super chats. Means a lot to me, and you guys definitely keep the conversation going, which is always a great thing, and I enjoy it. So big shout out to everybody who supports the channel. Big shout out to everybody who watches. Really appreciate it. And that's going to do it, guys. I will probably just have some regular video content coming up throughout the week, and then we'll do another stream on Sunday with the podcast. So, all right, guys, that's it. I will catch you in the next one. Take care.